everyone. We welcome you to this session. So, before we begin formally with the proceedings of the day, let us pay our respect to the Almighty, as is the tradition, as is the custom. Over to you, Simple.
या देवी सर्वभूतेषु मातृरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु बुद्धिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः।
Namaste, sir. Over to you.
Can you listen me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome to you all in this very special session on Ruskin bond. And the session will be taken by Prerna Joshi. Prerna Joshi is a passionate educator. She is in the field for over 17 years with exemplary experience in teaching of English. She is a topper of M.Ed, B.Ed, a JRF qualifier, PhD in education from Punjab University, Chandigarh, and her research was focused on e-learning platform. She started his career as an assistant professor in English, and currently she is serving as a PGT English at Bhavans Vidyalaya, Panchkula since 2019. Her dedication to education has earned her numerous accolades, including Teacher for Excellence Award in 2024, letter of appreciation from CBSE, from Bharati Vidya Bhavan. She has worked in different ways, different fields, as a head examiner, observer, as a subject expert for CBSE, and also in our sessions, she was an expert, and consistently she is performing good result. So beyond academics, if you see, Prerna is a wonderful person. He's a charismatic compare, event organizer, mentor, and whatnot. So many things She is well known for her leadership, creativity, and a wonderful rapport with the students. And in Bhavan, actually, we believe in teaching as a mission, and she is the torchbearer in this field, teaching as a mission and continues to inspire excellence in education. So, in that way, she is a wonderful one. Now, about she is telling about the Ruskin bond. I'm not telling you about the Ruskin bond in detail, only few lines I'll like to share with you about the skin bond because this particular author is very close to the heart of many children because he has written about children and he is a wonderful storyteller and most of his stories are based on the nature. Uh, the first novel, The Room on the Roof, won a John Llewellyn Prize in 1957. Just think that I don't think that anybody in the uh, audience could born at that time. So he has written many stories, more than 500 stories, many novels, and beautifully explained the beauty of uh, India's hills and rural life. Two of his books, one is The Blue Umbrella and second is A Flight of Pigeons, have earned him many prestigious awards like the Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. So today, uh, Prerna Joshi will let you know about all these things in detail. And I'm sure that you will enjoy her session because she is wonderful as far as performance is concerned. So Prerna, the session is yours. Please, I welcome you
Thank you, sir.
from the Bharati Vidya Bhavan. The session is yours. Please
Thank
take
you.
it.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful words, sir. Under your umbrella, it was the Ruskin Bond's blue umbrella, but under your umbrella, the kind of opportunities that you give us, we are really flourishing and shining. Thank you so very much, sir, for keeping that trust on us. Thank you so much, sir. I am also equally thankful to our principal of Bhavan Vidyalaya Panchkula, Ma'am Mrs. Gulshan Kaur. Again, Ma'am has always kept that trust, and we have been striving hard to be on the trust that she poses on us. I am equally thankful to Ma'am Mrs. Gulshan Kaur, our school principal. Ruskin Bond, Ink and Mountains, celebrating the life and legacy of Ruskin Bond. Dear audience, dear students, we know our audience are mostly children. You definitely must be very much attached to Ruskin Bond. It's not that nobody has heard his name. We also, as a teacher of language, as a teacher of English, we have known Ruskin Bond for many years. Whether it is in class 9, The Adventures of Toto, or in class 10, The Thief's Story, Ruskin Bond, sir, always has a very special place for the students as well as the we adults, we the educators. But must I tell you, some 2, 3 weeks ago, when Sir told me about this session, I started watching his interviews because I really wanted to know about Sir Ruskin Bond, apart from whatever we had read about him. I started scrolling about him on YouTube, all the interviews, and I must tell you that my YouTube feed is these days full of the interviews of Ruskin Bond, sir. So this session, it's all about whatever best I could get from the YouTube videos of Sir, his interviews I have incorporated in it. As I started watching his interviews, I started developing that bond. I went to my school library, got the books issued. Wherever I could feel any quotes, anything significant, I have made it a part of my presentation. So let me tell you, the moment I started watching those interviews, I instantly developed that bond with Mr. Ruskin Bond. The bond was for the love of children, the bond for nature, bond for mountains, bond for reading, bond for words, bond for books. I think that is how he's called Mr. Bond, Mr. Ruskin Bond. And that's the reason we've all gathered today to pay respects to Mr. Ruskin Bond, beloved author, the children's favorite author who turns 91-year old today. I'm sorry, he's not 91 years old, he's 91 years young today. So if you happen to see his interviews, you will fall in love with him. So that is the charisma, that is the magic of Sir Ruskin Bond for almost 8 decades. He has been serving us, he has been giving us best of the writing tasks. So this is what is this session about, curated for Mr. Ruskin Bond. Can we have the next slide? So before we begin with the session, we've got one slide which shows it has got the words of Mr. Ruskin Bond. He himself has spoken these lines from his one of his best sellers. I think all his books are bestsellers only. So Lone Fox Dancing. So here is the video direct from Ruskin Bond's voice.
As I walked home last night, I saw a lone fox dancing in the bright moonlight. I stood and watched, then took the low road, knowing the night was his by right. Sometimes, when words ring true, I'm like a lone fox dancing in the morning dew.
That was a beautiful beginning. It is always same with the mountains. Once you had lived with them for any length of time, you belong to them. There is no escape. These are the words from one of his books, and I think that's very true. If we, living over here in the urban areas, we go to mountains even for a few days, we cannot come out of it. And here we have Sir Mr. Ruskin Bond, who has lived his life in the lap of nature, in the mountains, and you see how close he is to nature. So, since he is the children's author, the children's most loved author, so let me invite one of my students, Tanish from class 11, who's going to present few lines from his book Living with Mountains. Over to you, Tanish.
Thank you, Prerna ma'am. As we all know that Thank you, Prerna ma'am. As we all know that Ruskin Bond spent most of his time in the lap of nature, surrounded by green and lushy mountains. On this note, I would like to speak a few lines from one of the most captivating poems of Ruskin Bond, Living with Mountains. I have lived in the mountains a long, long time. I have seen seasons change like an old hill rhyme. Bird song wakes me at break of day. Quiet stars light my moonlit way. No wealth I seek, nor grand design. These hills, this breeze, this peace is mine. I repeat, these hills, this breeze, this peace is mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanish. The peace, the breeze, the mountains. Whenever we read Ruskin Bond, whenever we hear to him, whenever we listen to his interviews, we only get to know of the peace, the breeze, the mountains. And I think this is what he exudes with the moment he starts speaking. Whenever you would watch his interviews, you will find him sitting in a Monte Carlo sweater, generally red, pink, beige. The calmness is worth appreciation. Can we have the next slide, ma'am? Yeah, just a bit about Sir Ruskin Bond. He was born on May 19, 1934 in Kasauli, Himachal Pradesh. Father was British, whereas the mother was Anglo-Indian. But let me tell you, my dear students, he is an Indian author. His mother left him when he was just 8 years of age, and he lost his father, whom he considered to be his one of his closest friends, at the age of 10. So we can understand the kind of loneliness. He was never under the umbrella of his parents. He then studied in Bishop Cotton School, Shimla, followed by in 1963. Since 1963, he has been living in Landore, Missouri with his adoptive family. I would like to add over here, he did not marry in his life. So he's living with his adoptive family where he has his sons and the daughters and the grandkids as well. He has won several writing prizes as a student, and his keen interest in book reading in the school library made him appointed as the in charge of the library. So, right from the beginning, he has been a brilliant child and has been into writing. So, this is one lesson we as students must learn, that writing is the best way of expression, and we have to learn it from Sir Ruskin Bond. So, beginning of Sir's journey into writing, again, I have taken this small part from his one of his interviews where he says that what all he wanted to become, and ultimately he became a writer because he was a passionate one. So we can we have the video, please?
I wanted to be an actor, but that never happened. I wanted to be a tap dancer. I never had the figure for it. Then I realized I could write. I kept winning essay prizes in school and things like that. And I was a bookworm. You know, I was reading always at least 2 books a week. Yes, from the school library or otherwise, and at home. So I grew up on books, and then I thought, well, this is the best thing to do. There's nothing better than a book, so why not write a few?
So probably that was a cakewalk for him to writing a books, and he says, "Why not write a few?" As the background of the video shows, most of his interviews, my dear students, are at his house, maybe keeping his age in mind. But I would like to add over here that some 7, 8, 10 years ago, we had the Literati Festival in Chandigarh. So Sir was there, and it was really a divine experience listening to him over there at the literature festival. But now he's living thoroughly in Lendore, Missouri, and all those people who have been going to his place and have been taking his interviews. Let's have a quick look into Sir's career beginnings. Yes, ma'am. His first novel, The Room on the Roof. It was published in 1956. He started writing this novel. He completed this novel at the age of 17, most probably. And then this novel was published in the year 1922. That novel won him the John Llewellyn Ryers Prize. As Anil sir told, that most of us were not even born in 1956. I would just like to add over here, as a teenager, he had written this novel, The Room on the Roof. Just an idea. It's a teenager's favorite novel. That is how it turned out to be the bestseller. So this was the story. This was Ruskin's story himself, The Room on the Roof. As it was mentioned that he lost his parents at a very tender age. The mother had married somebody else, some Indian. The father he lost, passed. The father passed away. So he was under the guidance of his guardian, Mr. Harrison, who, and this is all the novel, The Room on the Roof, is set in Dehradun. So he was living with Mr. Harrison and one of the ladies there. He never wanted, Mr. Harrison was a very strict guardian, he never wanted Ruskin to be in contact with the Indians. So he was a teenager full of the world, mysterious world waiting for him. He escapes from his home one day. When he goes to Dehradun, he finds to the Dehradun city, he finds two friends. He makes two friends by the name of Somi and Ranveer. Somi and Ranveer became very good of his friends. He enjoyed like any teenager enjoys. They would go to the chaat papri shop, and he really loves chaat papri. Let me tell you, he really is a fan of it. Even at this particular age, at this age of 91, he loves to have the tikkis and the chaat papris. So he escaped from his home. Once he had taken this bold step, that time the world was full of mystery for him. His friend Somi, he helps him get an employment at Mr. Kapoor's residence as an English tutor for his son, Mr. Kishan Kapoor. Goes over there. No fees was given to him. It was only the commitment of a room and food. So probably sitting in that room of Mr. Kapoor's house, he wrote this particular first book, The Room on the Roof. So there, by sitting over there, he would write about probably all his experiences at Dehradun. There, he also happens to meet the love, the very first love of his life. That was Mr. Kapoor's wife. Unfortunately, she passed away in an accident. Ruskin Bond again was heartbroken. He again became lonely, and in due course of time, he lost his friends also, Somi and Ranbir. So then, one fine day, then he plans to go to London. Before leaving for London, he wants to again meet this boy Kishan Kapoor, and this is how both these boys. The novel ends on this thing. Both these boys then think that we have to find positivity in life, and that was at that point where he thought that let me go to London, and he did go to London. Mr. Ruskin Bond did go to London, but India was always his calling. He collected money, collected funds, and he came back to India. And since then, of course, probably he had been going on and off in his early years, but since then he's here in India. That is how he's an Indian author. So this particular The Room on the Roof, it talks about teenagers, it talks about friendship, talks about hardships, but at the end it ends on a positive note, optimist note. So students, I did get this book issued from my school library, and I have been reading it. I've read it already in this last 2 weeks. I would really want you, if you really want to get closer to Ruskin, read this book. Next slide. Yes, Simple Ma'am. Literary treasures, these are some of the, he has authored more than 500 short stories, essays, including novellas and the novels, 69 books for children. That is how he is the children's author. Some of his major works include The Room on the Roof, Rusty series, The Blue Umbrella, A Flight of Pigeons, as Anil sir had already told, are still trees still grow in Dehra. Dehra over here represent Dehradun. Time stops at Shamli. For the Rusty series, I would like to mention over here that's an interesting series. Rusty, he has taken his name as Rusty. So it is that Rusty who sometimes escaped from school. The stories are, it's a series of short stories. Sometimes he escapes from the country. So this is really an interesting series which has been adapted by some television series as well. So we have the adaptations. Blue Umbrella. There was a movie by Vishal Bhardwaj based on the Blue Umbrella. A Flight of Pigeons, adapted as the film Junoon. Stories featured in TV shows like Ekta Rusty. So this had all the most of the, the works of Ruskin Bond. Awards and recognitions. So he has been awarded by the Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1992, followed by the followed by the, ma'am, can we have the, it's Padma Bhushan and the, I'm sorry, I'm not able to see this slide. Yeah, Padma Shri in 1999 and Padma Bhushan. Can we have the next slide, please? Style of writing. As I told you again, watching all those videos, the interviews, I've been able to derive about his style of writing and writing, reading his books. I would click a photograph wherever I would feel that there is something worth to be shared by the to the audience. I kept on clicking the picture and made it a part of this presentation. Yes, ma'am. Style of writing, it's very simple language, lyrical language. All when all the words are done, a beautiful but a butterfly will still be beautiful. So very simple language. He tries to convey the deeper meanings, deep appreciation for nature. When we read about him, we see the mention of cosmos flowers, geraniums, nasturtium, fuchsias, petunias. My dear audience, I would just like to share over here. Yesterday itself, I was watching one of his interviews where he says he's a very naughty child. He says, I'm a very naughty one. He says because his life and his writings have all been around nature. He says sometimes when I would not come to know the name of this wild flower, for example, a wildflower, he would create a name on his own. So this is what he told in one of his interviews that I watched yesterday. All his works depict small town life. So he's lived in Delhi, and then Saharanpur, Dehradun, Mussoorie, Kasauli. So you pick up any work of his, you will see the flavor of the small town life. Yes, ma'am. Focuses on childhood. Loneliness, we all know that he had been a lonely child. It must have been really challenging for him. But it also talks about personal growth. He also said in one of his interviews that, he says, I'm a very negative person. But when I start to write, I don't know how it becomes optimistic. I don't know how I become positive. So this is what is the beauty of Ruskin Bond. I think this is how why we all enjoy reading about him, because nowhere you will find traces of negativity. It's all full of optimism. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah, often autobiographical. There's more use of I, Rusty, my friends. So it's often autobiographical. He puts small ideas in story. He doesn't have to hunt for ideas even at this age. He puts small ideas and weaves them into story. Relatable life characters. I've just written over here from one of the books that I was reading, novella, Stories with Love from Hills. He says that I can open the window and shout out to the postman or the kabadiwala or the candy floss man, and they can shout up to me. And in this way, I am a part of the passing show. He doesn't have that air of being one of the most popular and the famous authors. So he's just like one of the other persons living over there. He beautifully mentions in that book, that novella, a writer needs flowers, but he also needs people. So people form a very important part of his any of the writing tasks that we can pick it up. Next map. Learning takes place without lessons. He strongly believes, whenever we'll read, we will not see there is a moral story at the end. But by the time the story is over, we already know what was the story about, what was the lesson that it was trying to give. For example, class 10, we have the chapter, The Thief's Story. It never had a moral lesson at the end, but we all knew that the story is about the moral reformation of a thief. So that is the beauty of Ruskin Bond. Next slide, ma'am. The stories are for everyone. We know it very well. They are for children. He's children's author, but he writes for everyone. At this age, I really enjoyed reading all his works. Most of the works I have tried to read. Strongly believes that world has changed because, as a person who's in the ninth decade of his life, he has seen the pre-world World War era, pre-independence era, the independence era, the advent of technology in everything. So that is how he has said that the world has changed, but people are still the same. So you stick to humanity, you will never get outdated. His characters are from Delhi, Jamnagar, Masuri, Kasauli, Dehradun. Next one. On being asked, so this I've taken it from one of his interviews, what made him stay in Masuri for so long? And his reply was, it's a beautiful reply. He says, I forgot to go away. It's that sort of a place which takes hold of you, and time passes without being noticed. Summers and winters come and go, and children go to school and grow up, and still, yeah. Uh, they are a part of nature. Yeah, next one. There are some interesting facts about Mr. Ruskin Bond from his interviews. Yes, ma'am. Uh, the interviewer asked him, what is the secret of his memory at the age of 90 years? So that was the last year this interview had taken place. He says, what is his strategy? My dear audience, we also can, adopt this kind of a strategy. He says, I keep on listing all the books, all the movies that I watch, all the articles that I read, and very important, he writes diary every day. I think in the times of smart, the phones today, we all find it very convenient for us to list the things on the apps. But he says, I write. Writing, my dear students, is very important and not texting. It's about writing. He writes his dream book and then weaves it into story. He says again, and I had watched in one of his interviews, he says, all of a sudden at night, when I dream of that I have to write about this poem, he wakes up, he starts writing about it. Even if he's not able to finalize that poem, at least he gets an idea this was my dream about. And this is how he's able to put beautiful stories and the poems to all of us. Next one. He believes, and I think that's very true, morning is a good time to write. Sitting by the window, he says, I can see the entire Landor, the beauty of Landor, the mystic land of Landor, and that is a good inspiration for him to write. Yeah, next map. He's open to suggestions from anyone. I think that's very important learning lesson we all must imbibe, that one should be open to suggestions at any age. If a person like Ruskin Bond is open to suggestions at the age of 91 now, the reason for success is evident. In the times of artificial intelligence, the interviewer had asked him, he promotes using, he says, yes, we must use, we must be using our intelligence. God has bestowed us intelligence. We don't have to take the shelter of AI and have full trust in God. And to the extent he also said that I had my phone, probably he used to get distracted because of the phone calls coming to him. He threw away his phone 5 years ago and he's only with his books and the pens and his ink pen. Earlier he used to, remember, next slide, next one. Earlier he used to, write with the ink pen. Now he uses ball pen to write. He was inspired by the writers of his like 50s, like R.K. Narayanan. We as children, we have watched his on the television Malgudi Days, Mulk Raj Anand. So all these people have been his inspiration. He is a visual writer. So the interviewer asked him that, do you experience a writer's block? He says no. How do I overcome is, I am a visual writer. Whatever I see, whatever I am wanting to put it in my story, I imagine it. So once I imagine it, I never forget it. And when I never forget it, when I stop to sit to write, I am able to write it. Next one. He's a writer without complaints. He says he takes the life as it comes, so there are no complaints. So that is how he's able to give us the best. Good memory. He also says he has a good memory for places, so he is able to conjure a scene. So visual writer, good memory. The result is Mr. Ruskin Bond. Yes, ma'am. The What fuels his creativity was the question asked. So what he says, I write by hand. He is now shifted to a ball pen. As I mentioned earlier he used to use an ink pen, which maybe the current generation might not have used. We have used the fountain pens. Next one. Not at all a tech savvy person. As a result, he had thrown away his phone 5 years ago. Next one, he doesn't overburden or overworks himself. I think this is again one lesson we all, as students especially, must understand. One must not overburden, and probably that is the reason Mr. Ruskin Bond at this age is very calm, he's very composed, because he has lived a peaceful life without any burden of studies, without any burden that I have to set this benchmark of writing so and so books. He sits in the balcony every morning under the sun and writes. All these things give us him impetus to write. He writes just a page or two daily now. So as a result, he's able to make short stories in a month or so. Gets influenced by people of daily life. As I said, that kabadi wala, the candy floss person, all these people are the characters of his work. Yeah, next one, his likings. He likes to write. I think this is what we know him for. Likes to write, likes to read. And there's another thing, he likes to eat. Ruskin Bond has a very humorous style. He says at this particular age, I don't have many dietary restrictions. But he says if I have some, I just ignore them. So he confines earlier when he would used to have this. He told in one of his interviews only that I used to have 10 or 12 tikkis, but now I am confining myself to just two tikkis. So just imagine a person at 91 if he's able to have two tikkis. So the love for food is clearly evident. Next map, what inspires him? So all these things, children, local people, family and relatives, writing for self-pleasure and relationships. All these things inspire him to write. These are some points for budding author. He says write in your mother tongue or the language in which you are comfortable. Ruskin Bond is an Indian writer. He does, in one of the interviews I saw, I think that was with Delhi Doordarshan. He gave his interview in Hindi. That was a little strange, but yes, he's an English author, writes in English, comfortable in English. He says, be confident even in the times of failure. Success can never be predicted. So it's not that one should give up when one is a failure. We probably feel that my book has not worked out. But he says keep on working hard. because you cannot predict when will we reach the ladder of success. Do not give up and do not stop despite the failures. One should not stop. Write from your heart, and I think he has been writing from the heart only, that he has been able to touch the chord of the audience, with the children, with the adults. Never despair, never feel hopeless. Keep on going on and on and on. He believes, strongly believes, writing changes the mood. As I said earlier, in one of his interviews, he said that, I am a negative person. But when I start to write, I don't know how I'll end up being optimistic, positive. So, this is the impact of writing on our mindset, on our thinking. So, my dear students, please, the ones who are the budding authors, please write. Do not stop. Give some time to writing every day. You never know, we might have any Ruskin bond in the coming years. Yeah, next slide, ma'am. Message for the readers. So, this is again taken from his interviews. He says, just keep on reading, 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 and reading. Do not stop. Apart from the curriculum books, please give time for the pleasure reading. Next up is, he says, do better things in life. So do things which are creative, which are productive, and that will keep you going. So do better things in the life. This is what is the message for the readers. I'm just a medium. This is all by Ruskin Bond. In his interviews, I have taken all this content from his interviews. He says, do better things in life. So I think for any person who is a fan of Ruskin Bond, we all know the better thing in life is to read and write. No need to be a bookworm, but yes. Now, since I said he's a children's author, so what, I've added my children to this segment. We are going to have some book reviews which will be done by my students. So these are his major works and their snippets. My purpose of adding these book reviews is, uh, we would be happy as an institution, as an educationist, that if students by the end of this workshop, this session, you go and pick one book of Ruskin Bond. And if you are going to pick one book of Ruskin Bond, we feel that our effort, Anil sir's effort, they've all succeeded, because this is what we want. We want to honor the legacy of Sir Ruskin Bond. So I would now like to invite my student Ananya. Yeah, next slide, ma'am. Ananya from class 10. She is going to give us a small book review about photograph. Here's one of the works.
Thank you,
Yes, over to
ma'am.
you, Ananya.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaste, everyone. I am here to share my views on a book I recently read, The Photograph, written by Sir Ruskin Bond. In this short story, the author, who is a 10-year-old boy, finds an old photograph stuck between the pages of a book containing pictures of birds and butterflies. It is a colorful picture book, and the photograph described is entirely in contrast to it. It is faded, yellow, and foggy, similar to old memories. Now, whenever we think of a photograph, a black and white that too, which is faded and old, the first thing that comes to our mind is nostalgia. And Sir Ruskin Bond has perfectly captured the essence of nostalgia in this very story. The picture is of a young girl standing next to a wall, with her hands on her hips and a devilish smile on her face. Behind the wall, there was nothing but the sky, signifying that a world of freedom awaited her, if only she would climb the wall. This is one of the aspects of the story that I admire. But I also really admired the way Mr. Bond contrasts young and old. How the spring of childhood turns into the late summer of old age. How he shows that a young girl turns into a traditional old woman. There are contrasts, yes, but there are also similarities. For that little girl in the photograph has still retained her backbone and a bit of devilish mischief in the way grandmother punishes the author by making him sew and threatening to make him knit. There are several symbolisms, like the wall, which represents boundaries set upon by the rules and conventions to contain mischief and odd behavior. Then there is the butterfly, which symbolizes the ephemeral nature of youth and beauty. The author never quite confirms that the girl in the photograph is his grandmother, but gives the reader just enough clues to find out. And of course, there is the curious case of the hands on the wall, which provides an element of suspense to the story. All in all, I would say that it was a pleasant walk down the lane, and I recommend a read. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya. So see the beautiful book, the photographs, the story. So how he has taken very simple element of butterfly, the girl in the photograph. You see, as I told, he's not going to give us the moral lesson at the end. But as probably Ananya read this book, she realized that probably the old lady is that same very girl. So you see how the simple thoughts have been interspersed in a beautiful way by the magician, I would say, the magician Bond, Mr. Ruskin Bond. Yes, next now I would like to invite another student of mine, Tanisha. Tanisha of class 9. She's going to present book review on The Blue Umbrella, which was adapted by Mr. Vishal Bhardwaj. So over to you, Tanisha.
Thank you, ma'am. Today, I'd like to talk about a beautiful story I recently read, The Blue Umbrella by Ruskin Bond. This book is a this book is a heartfelt story set in the hills of Himachal Pradesh. The story follows a young girl named Binya who lives a simple life with her family. One day, she comes across some tourists and ends up exchanging her lucky leopard claw pendant for a bright blue umbrella. The umbrella is no ordinary one. Its rich color and fine fabric makes it stand out, and soon it becomes the most admired object in the village. But not everyone is happy. Something happens that changes the course of story. What happens next is a touching journey of emotions, jealousy, guilt, and finally forgiveness. What I really liked about the Blue Umbrella is that it teaches us an important lesson, that is, kindness and generosity are more valuable than any other object. Binya's small act of forgiveness at the end shows great maturity and heart. In just a few pages, this book gives an lasting impression. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanisha. So, this is what is the beauty of Ruskin Bond's work. A small element, a blue umbrella. You see the highlight on the color blue, apart from any other colorful. So, that again, instills that calmness, peace. Of course, it's a story of a teenager girl. There were jealousies. The people did feel jealous. But how she comes out as giving us all, the readers, a lesson of forgiveness. Thank you, Tanisha. Can we have the next slide? I now invite Anuj of class 11, who's going to share his views on again one of his best sellers, Time Stops at Shamli. Yeah, over to you, Anuj.
Thank you, ma'am. So, when I first heard we could speak about Ruskin Bond, one name burned into my mind. Time stops at Shamli. I did it 3 years ago, and it never left me. Not because it explodes with plot, but because it haunts you quietly, like a door left open in the back of your memory. It's a whisper of a story. A man steps off a train at a town in Himachal named Shamli, where time doesn't tick, it waits. And in the stillness, he meets Kusum, the same woman he had feelings for in his childhood. But what happens next is not a love story, not anymore. Just two people drowning in all the words they didn't say. And that's what makes it so relatable to our own lives. Because life isn't made of explosions, it's made of silences, of unfinished sentences, of the glances that turned into something but didn't. How many such moments have we already lived through, thinking we'll go back someday, but never do? Shamli isn't a town, it's a wound disguised as a memory. It's the reverberation of a chance you didn't take, a goodbye that didn't sound like one. And Ruskin Bond, he doesn't fix it, he just shows it to you, like someone holding up a mirror when you're not ready to look at. But that's the magic, the quiet truth. His stories don't end, they stay. And years later, you'll remember them, not because they thrilled you, but because they knew you. That, my friends, is Ruskin Bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Anuj. I think Shamli is a metaphor for all the unsaid words, the unsaid moments, inexperienced moments, and how beautifully the story that was published almost 30 years is still touches the teenagers of today. So that is how it's not only about the children, it's about the teenagers, the love stories, and that is how Ruskin Bond is able to connect with the audience across all the generations. Yeah, next I would like to invite another student of mine for the book review. So we have Ritisha from class 11. She's going to give a book review of another genre that Ruskin Bond touches. That is the gothic one, the spooky one, the wind on haunted hill. Yeah, over to you, Ritisha.
Thank you, ma'am. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite stories from the Adventures of Rusty by Ruskin Bond. It's called The Wind on the Haunted Hill, and trust me, it's spooky, funny, and full of childhood madness. The story is about Rusty and his brave, or let's say brave-ish friend Daljit, who decide it's a great idea to explore a haunted house on a lonely hill. Because clearly, when you hear a place is haunted, the smartest thing to do is go right there, right? Now, my favorite moment is when they're tiptoeing through this creepy abandoned house. Everything's dusty, silent, and totally straight out of a horror movie. And suddenly, they hear footsteps, like real heavy footsteps. But there's no one around. So, instead of being heroic, the boys do exactly what any of us would do. They scream, stumble, and run like they're being chased by ghosts with flying chapels. What I love about the story is not just the chills and the laughs, but how Ruskin Bond captures childhood so perfectly. That fearless curiosity mixed with the slight tendency to panic dramatically. It's funny, relatable, and makes you feel like you're right there on that hill with Rusty, heart racing and legs ready to bolt. In the end, The Wind on the Haunted Hill isn't just about ghosts. It's about friendship, adventure, and the kind of stories that stay with you long after you finish the book, especially if you read them at night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritisha. That was a beautiful book review of this haunted hill. And you see how he connects. Friends are very important part of, probably have been a very important part of Ruskin's life. And this is what he has shown over here. A very normal reaction to what will happen when you are in this haunted kind of a house. So, my dear students, please go and grab this read. You are really going to enjoy one of the stories by Rusty. Yeah, the next one I would now like to invite Tanishq from class 11 who's going to give his book review on Delhi is not far. Yeah, over to you, Tanishq.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaste, everyone. As I was so much inspired by the writings of Ruskin Bond that I couldn't stop myself from expressing my views. The novel that influenced me the most was Delhi is Not Far. It is not just a story of journey, it is a tale of hope, dreams, and strength of ordinary people set in the dusty town of Pipalnagar. Arun, a struggling writer who believes that a better life lies ahead in Delhi. What makes this novel truly special is its message that dreams are valid no matter where you come from. Ruskin Bond beautifully reminds us that even in the smallest town and the quietest life, big stories can be found. He teaches us that success isn't about big cities or fame, it is about believing in yourself. And no matter how small the steps are, because small steps lead to greater achievements. So let us carry forward the message of this literary gem that no dream is too distant. With courage and faith, every journey is worth taking because Delhi is not far. Thank you.
True. Thank you, Tanish. Delhi is not far away if we want to dream and if we want to achieve. So, if we dream, then only we'll be able to achieve. So, that was again one of the beautiful works by Ruskin Bond. Delhi is not far away. So, metaphor for the fact we can get beauty in the small towns as well. Now, moving to last one, finally. Uh, at this moment, Anil sir, I have no words. My heart is, full of pride. The student who's going to give the review right now is, I would not say she's the pride of our Bhavan Panchkula. She's the pride of our Bharati Vidya Bhavan. She is the pride of our city, of our state, Haryana, and our nation, our country. Sir, she's Srishti Sharma. She has scored 500 on 500 in her class 10 board exams. She has become a celebrity girl, and I had to really take time out, but then she has been so sweet. She said, "No, ma'am, I will always be there for you." So she has been full of the interview, people coming up to her, but then still she's here with us. This is the love, this is the grooming our Bhavans has given her. So, Srishti, I would like to invite you for Lone Fox dancing.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Namaste, everyone. Today, I have the absolute joy of speaking about Lone Fox Dancing, the autobiography of none other than Sir Ruskin Bond. This book feels less like reading and more like listening to an old friend. It's not just about big events, but small everyday moments that he describes so beautifully that even the simplest things, like watching the rain or recalling a childhood prank, come alive with warmth and magic. His writing style keeps you hooked. He writes about nature in a way that makes you feel like you are living his memories. What makes this book truly mesmerizing is how ordinary events are described in an extraordinary way. Through these pages, you meet the real Ruskin Bond, not just the writer, but the person. You learn surprising things like how he was once a football captain and about his quiet struggles, the loneliness, financial hardships, and the endless waiting that come with being a writer. Yet, he shares all this with quiet resilience and no bitterness, only a deep love for life. This book teaches us to find joy in the ordinary, to stay close to nature, and to be true to ourselves. It even made me feel like writing. It reminds us that everyone has a story worth telling. And perhaps the most beautiful thing, you are not just reading a book, you are discovering the life of a man who danced with words, alone like a fox, yet content. On his birthday, this book is a perfect way to celebrate Ruskin Bond and the beautiful life he has lived. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Srishti. It's a beautiful review of Lone Fox dancing. Beautiful words, alone like fox, yet content. I think everybody is alone at one point of time, but the challenge is to face that with content, face that with positivity. And I think Sir's life is a real example of that. So this was all with the book reviews. Let's come to the final slide. Before we close this session, let's pay our respects to a writer who is 91 years young. I am not using this word old over here. He's 91 years young today. An author for almost 7 decades, 70 years. Rather, it's more than 7 decades. Yes, ma'am. Enthusiastic like a child. I told you he's very naughty. He believes, he himself says that I'm a very naughty person at this age as well. Humorous without effort. So when you read, I'm telling you, that's my personal, experience. You observe his interview, you listen to him, you will fall in love with him. He is a treasure of anecdotes and experiences, a life of 91 years, but it was a life worth living. Life. And we see him as a good soul as well. He adopted a family. The whole family is living with him. They are all living together. And see, that is the beauty, that is the goodness in that person. India's favorite children author, goes without saying. Our library, our school library is full of his books. And when I went, I must admit, when I went to get the books issued, most of the books were already issued by the children. So, ma'am, tell this book has also gone, this book has also gone, and students love reading. So, I think that was the best way to pay tribute such beloved author. Yes, ma'am. And I think that's it with this session. Anil sir, thank you so much for giving this opportunity and letting me be very close to Mr. Ruskin Bond. And I'm very sure after this session, we also might be wanting to read a bit about it. And that's the success of our session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Uh, it was indeed very, I should say, interesting to see our children presenting their views on different books. So I congratulate all the children who are participating in this particular program. They have given their views uh, in a very frank way, I should say. And today, actually, it is a very special day. That day is known as Plant Something Day. Plant Something Day. That you have to plant something. It can be anything. So why not we should plant one thing that what the skill board has said about the writing, that you should write in your own language, or you should write in the language that you love to, and you should write in your own interest. So if we are taking it as a mission mode, then this will be a great success of this particular session. So it is the Prerna has given a very interesting session, a wonderful session. I thoroughly enjoyed the session of a uh, person of 91 years young. About the Ruskin bond, she has said 91 years young, working in this field for 7 decades. And the interesting thing is that he is still a child. And one thing that I want to say you are all children, very young. But what happens when we go with the age? The child in us dies somewhere. So the moment child dies, I mean, it is the death of the person. Not from outside, inside it is the death. He cannot enjoy the life. If really you want to enjoy the life, then keep that child alive. And it can be alive only when you enjoy your childhood. And the next is that always be with the persons who appreciate you, who love you, who adore you. So, wonderful, Prerna. I have thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
so much.
enlightening us about this 90-year young man. And I think it is the great tribute to uh, Ruskin Bond.
Thank you
I'm
so
very
much.
happy that children are involved. And uh, I have a lot of praise and congratulations for Srishti, who has got 100 out of 100. So Srishti Sharma has uh, made the record. And Srishti, uh, uh, please
Srishti,
focus on
unmute yourself.
Srishti.
Yes, yes, yes.
Please focus on Srishti, please. Srishti, I'd like to say you one thing.
Yes,
It is very difficult to remain at the top
yes,
because they are the people who used to pull your legs and bring you down.
yes, sir.
So when you are at the top, it is really you enjoy a very different type of pleasure you might be feeling. Arey, yaar, up the top. Pe. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the feelings. But remember one thing, if you really want to remain on the top, then one thing is very essential, and that is hard work. Besides hard work, there are also many other things are there. But the hard work is one thing that you have to remember. I wish that you should remain at the top always, and uh, you should uh, keep our flags high. Bharati Vidya Bhavan, Pachkula Jindabad. So thank you very much, and convey my regards to your parents because they have also done a wonderful job. And believe me or not, but in your success, uh, some share is there with your friends also. So remember your friends, your family, your teachers, all that who are associated with you, and above all, uh, your principal, a torch bearer who always push the children to do work good and good, good and good. I don't know. I was asking her that this time you have got so much. What about the next? So it is always a sort of benchmarking that she is putting every year. So it is only possible with a good team. So thank you very much. Paskula team, very good. Prerna, thank you very much. Simple, thank you very much. And all the children, thank you very much for your contribution. And thank you very much, all the uh, visitors, all that who have seen. And I'm waiting for the beautiful song and that the ma'am was related. So thank you very much for the beautiful song also, because I feel in the starting it was different. And I hope that in the end also it will be different. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
ॐ ध्यौ शान्तिन्तरिक्षः शान्तिः पृथ्वी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिः वनस्पतय शान्तिः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवाः शान्ति ब्रह्मः शान्तिः सर्वं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सामा शान्तिरेधि शान्तिः 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 ॐ शान्ति